Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Tuesday the 19th of June 2018. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @ds_Pepperstone. Right, let's take a look at overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. I'm just going to flag a few points here. First of all, the Aussie dollar giving ground against its US counterpart, down by around 0.32% to 73.9750 shortly before we recorded the video. The Mexican peso has also given ground against the US currency, down by around 0.44%, and it's a similar story for the South African rand, which has eased to 13.8322, a move of some 1.44% weaker against the US currency overnight. But it's not all one-way traffic. In fact, the yen has strengthened against the greenback. The yen now trading at 109.77, so back below that 110 level. The yen strengthening, in fact, by 0.69%. Dollar index, for its part, slightly weaker than yesterday, 94.65 trading, down by around 0.16%. And we'll look at some of the reasons behind these moves as we move through the video. Right, events. What's on the calendar? Events that may move the markets. A pretty busy calendar today, though not too much in the way of key data, but we'll work through what there is. We've already had the Reserve Bank of Australia's meeting minutes release, and we'll look at that in a bit more detail momentarily. To come at 8 a.m. GMT will have current account data for April out of the Eurozone, and then at the same time we'll have the first of the day's central bank speeches, this one from ECB President Mario Draghi, and he's followed onto the platform by his colleague Prié, and that's at 8:30 GMT. These are, of course, speeches at the Sintra Central Bank Symposium going on in Portugal. We'll have some construction output data for April at 9 a.m. GMT out of the Eurozone, and then we leap forward to 11 a.m. and the Fed's Jimmy Bullard is speaking in Sintra. He's joined once again on that panel by the ECB board member Prié. 12:30 GMT will see the release of housing starts and building permits data for May from the US, and that's accompanied by, 25 minutes later, by the Red Book Index data for June, or the week of June 15th, I should say. And then we have a break until later in the evening, where we'll see the Westpac Consumer Survey data for Q2 out of New Zealand, accompanied at 22:45 by current account data for the first quarter out of New Zealand as well. And then at 23:50, if you're still in the market, the Bank of Japan releases its own policy meeting minutes report. Right then, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. And first of all, President Trump has raised the prospect of a further $200 billion worth of tariffs on China trade. Chinese equities have sold off as a result of that news. Meanwhile, staying in America and staying with Chinese relations, the US Senate has unexpectedly blocked the president's deal over ZTE, delaying a return to operations for the Chinese telecoms group. Something of a pie in the face for the president, as he gave a personal assurance to his Chinese counterpart that a compromise could be reached over ZTE. That's obviously not the case. Meanwhile, the Reserve Bank of Australia minutes suggest a dovish tone on rates from the Australian Central Bank. Perhaps people are reading too much into the data, but an omission of a phrase around raising rates has some people questioning whether the bank has actually got any appetite to do that in the near future, hence those weaker Aussie dollar rates. Right then, food for thought, something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Why not think about this? Emerging markets are back in the headlines once more as ratings agency Fitch slashes its economic outlook for Argentina despite the country's recent deal with the IMF. Fitch has also trimmed its outlook for Turkey, citing higher borrowing costs and a weak currency as its reasons for doing so. The chart here simply plots the performance of the Argentinian peso in yellow and the Turkish lira in the magenta colour against the US dollar over the last year or so, and you can see it's not a pretty picture. These emerging market crises tend to look more like a slow car crash or slow motion car crash than anything else. It doesn't all happen at once, and so I'm sure we'll see more of these kind of headlines in the weeks and months ahead. Right, thank you for your time. Please take a moment to read the risk warning. CFDs and Forex on margin can be risky to trade. If you're in any doubt about the risks involved in trading leveraged instruments or the suitability of those products for you, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative.